going on, guys? Chad here with Greenlight Shooting, and welcome back to another review video. Today, we're talking handgun safes. So these two safes are both made by Top Secure Safe. They reached out, asked if I'd do a review for them. I said, send them on out, let's see what you got, man. So here they are. These are their main two models. This one's obviously a little bit bigger. It says it's meant to hold 4 or 5 handguns. This one is obviously smaller, and I think probably about 2 handguns or so can fit in that thing. When these first arrived, you guys know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, I did a lot of work with Vaultek. So my brain originally went to comparing these to Vaultek. And then as I thought about it, you can't really compare the two. Vaultek, for their bigger multi-handgun safe, is 600 bucks. This thing's 100 bucks. And their smaller one is about 250-ish. This one's 80. So I kind of had to put those out of my head and start fresh. We're looking at these as sort of budget-friendly handgun safes, but they've still got a lot of the same features, things like a biometric sensor, etc. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So let's start off with this one. I tried to find tech specs. I couldn't really find too much on tech specs. They said that it's just a dual layer steel safe with welds all around to prevent prying open. So to give you an idea on the shape of this thing, there are no like hard corners. It's just bended steel, it looks like, all the way around, which is really nice. It doesn't give you anywhere to be able to get a pry bar in there besides the very front. That's like the only open spot on here, and this is the door right here. Up on top, we have buttons. So there are three ways to access these safes. Number one are the buttons, which do light up as you push them, which is really nice. And there's also a fingerprint scanner. And then if you remove this little slide out, there is a key that fits in there as well. So 3 main functions to access. There it is. This thing flies open. This door is spring-loaded, and it lets you know it. So on the inside here, there's just like little thin layers of foam all the way throughout, and there's a removable shelf in here that has these 2 spots if you wanted to, like, I think screw them together, whatever, bolt them together. There are some ledges in there that'll let you secure this into place. Otherwise, this just kind of sits in there and has a little bit of movement, but it does seem like it's still functional without locking it in. Inside on the top panel, there's a battery compartment. It takes 4 AA batteries to power this thing, and then there's also a program button. That program button is how you'll enter your own personal key code, insert your fingerprint, that kind of thing. This thing claims that it can hold up to 20 fingerprints, and then there are 4 different buttons, so however many options that gives you for your own code. So I have a Glock 19 with a Surefire in the Crossbreed LDS 2.0 holster, and lengthwise, this thing fits in there pretty perfectly. So that gives you an idea on depth. This is a 5¼ inch M&P Smith & Wesson that will also fit very easily. Like, there's tons of room depth-wise for really any size handgun, I think, that you need in here. I don't know that I can see fitting 4 or 5 handguns in here unless they're just stacked on each other. In terms of like actual padded space in there, I think you can probably fit 2 guns in there like this on the bottom, and then probably 1 more gun on that shelf. After that, I think you're gonna have to start stacking if you want to get that full 4 or 5 in there. But I would probably say, like, 2 handguns on the bottom, and then your things like your watches, your wallets, other accessories on that little shelf. That's probably how I would use this thing. So before I tell you my personal take on the thing, the pros and the cons, let's also talk about this safe, and then we'll go into my personal ideas on the safes. So same thing on this smaller guy, except it is a clamshell style. So rather than a front door open, you've got like, 2 halves that are coming together. You can see this construction gives you a little bit more leeway if you were trying to get a pry bar in there or something like that, but still, I think it's giving you plenty of protection on a day-to-day basis. Things like from kids, people you don't want in your guns, things like that. This should totally do the trick. Same setup up here. You've got 4 buttons that all light up. You've got a biometric sensor, and you also have key entry right there as well. So when you unlock this thing, it just opens slightly, and then it requires you to manually open it the rest of the way. This thing is all foam lined. And on the inside, you've got another program button as well as a battery compartment. This one takes 4 AAA batteries, to power. You can see where the seam meets here. They do have it reinforced with another piece of steel. So like I said, you can't just get a pry bar in there and pry open. There would be nowhere for that pry bar to go. So the thing is really well locked down. Accessories both of these come with, there are some pre-drilled holes on the bottom of both safes that allow you to mount this into the floor or something like that. Comes with a little bit of mounting hardware here. It does come with a steel cable where you can wrap this around something stationary and put the other end in the safe and keep it where it's at. And then obviously keys. Size-wise on this guy, again, same Glock setup. That is taking up pretty much the entirety of that safe. Something like this, at least with the mag in it, doesn't fit. If I take the mag out, that fits pretty well. So I'm gonna say you can probably fit one full-size handgun in here with accessories like an extra mag or something like that. Or I'm betting you could probably get two compact size handguns in there. As you can see, if there was another one flipped sitting right there. That gives you an idea on size for both of these. Okay, so now that we've got the objective stuff out of the way, let's get into a little bit more of my thoughts and my subjective views on the thing. The buttons have a pretty good feel. They've got a little textile touch on here with you know, raised dots, so you can tell what you're hitting if it's the middle of the night or something like that. I like how it's got a little LED ring around it. Again, if it's the middle of the night and it's dark, you want to be able to kind of have an idea of where these buttons are. I like how if it's dark and you need to tap that fingerprint sensor, it lights up for you and it stays lit up for quite a while. In terms of the biometric sensor, I think it's probably pretty good. I have a hard time testing biometric sensors because my hands are inherently really sweaty. So it's hit or miss on me, but it's not just this biometric sensor. It's the same way with Vaultek. It's the same way with iPhones. With anything that requires a fingerprint, it's hit or miss for me. So I can't really talk about that, but objectively, I like the way that the fingerprint sensor lights up, gives you kind of an idea of where you need to place your finger if it's the middle of the night, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a nice touch. You can also hear when I'm pushing these things, there's a very loud audible beep. I don't like that. I would prefer it to be as silent as possible. You can turn off the beep by holding one of the buttons down for 5 seconds. And now it's on silent mode. So as I'm pushing these buttons, you can't hear anymore. The one thing that you will for sure hear though, when I open this safe up, that's a very, very loud opening mechanism. Not only the opening mechanism itself, but this door is no freaking joke, dude. Like if you have your hand there, that's going to crush your hand. If it's the middle of the night, you hear some rustling going on or whatever, obviously you want stealth to be on your side. So if you need to reach for your gun with this safe, I would highly recommend, you know, putting a hand in front of this door or something like that and letting it down softly. Otherwise, that bang is going to be very, very audible. But otherwise, it is a quick access thing. It pops open really reliably. You're never concerned about that door getting stuck. That thing is gonna fly open every time. And as far as security, I like how the door is recessed in there because once again, you know, pry bars, whatever, is going to be a lot more difficult just to get in there in general. This one, you obviously don't need to worry about that front door slamming down. So if it's quiet, you've just got that little bit of motor noise opening that, so that's not that big of a deal. I do wish there was some sort of internal lights, so once this thing opens up, it'd be dope if there was just some LEDs or something in there so you can see what you're looking at. There's a slot right there for a steel cable, as we mentioned. If you want to just lock this up to, you know, something that is immovable, it's a good solution. So my thoughts on these things are, they're totally functional. You know, I don't think they're the prettiest thing in the world. I've talked a little bit about this before, but in my eyes, these kinds of things are made as quick access options for your guns or your valuables. And that's the first purpose. And the second purpose, I think, is just to help keep those items out of reach of people like children and things like that. I do not think that these serve as a replacement for a proper full-size safe. I think having your armory or whatever locked up in that is still the ideal scenario. However, someone breaks into your house, whatever, you need quick access to a firearm, these are obviously going to be significantly quicker than a traditional dial safe or whatever. So if you're not someone who those extra features, you know, the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi, whatever of other safes, if those things don't appeal to you as much, if you don't want to pay for those options, I think that's where these come in fantastically. 80 bucks, 100 bucks, lock up your guns, give you peace of mind. That's where these things shine. So That's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. I've got a link to both of these down in the video description below. If you are down for the ride, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Greenlight Shooting. Peace out.